This knife is made by a company called Kizer. This video was a requested video by several people. A couple people, subscribers, viewers, contacted me and they wanted me to check out this company called Kizer. It's a Chinese company. The main thing is that this company is producing some folding knives that are S35VN steel. And they're selling these knives for a substantially lower price than we're used to seeing. Okay? So basically people are contacting me and saying, you know, is this too good to be true? Is there something wrong with the knives? Is it really that steel? You know, people basically wanted me to check out something from this company. So I basically looked at what they had, and this seemed to be the largest folding knife that they had, so I figure why not start there. Now, these products are sold at KnifeWorks. I'm not sure where else they're sold, but if you're interested, you can check out their products. And in this video, I'm going to go over this knife in a lot of detail because, you know, I'm not normally super picky, like as far as like blade centering and stuff down to the millimeter. But I know that a lot of people who buy folding knives are really picky about the details. So I'm going to try to make this video to give those people the information they want, especially because this brand, a lot of people are curious about this brand. So if I seem too picky in this review, there is a good reason for it. Now, first of all, the blade steel issue. People asking, is it really S35VN? I feel that it is. I think that it is. The word on the street, or rather the word that viewers have come to me and told me, is that somebody asked a company that makes S35VN, that company said that Kizer did place an order with them for that steel. Okay, so it seems to be legitimate. It seems that company is actually ordering shipments of that steel. Okay, now that's just the word in the community. All right. Okay, first issue, blade length. Now me personally, I try to measure the usable reach of the knife. So I measure basically from the top of the middle of the scale right there to the tip. I think that's just a more practical measure. Okay, so by my measurement, this is 4.2 inches in blade length. And it's a big knife. All right, let's do some size comparisons. All right, here is my Spyderco Manix 2 XL. All right, and as you can see, the Kizer is noticeably larger than even the Manix 2 XL. Here's the Kizer knife below a Spyderco TI Military. Now the TI Military is the same size as the regular Spyderco Military. And if you just want to see, you know, more, make the point come home more. All right, so you see, right, it is noticeably longer than a Spyderco Military, which is in itself a fairly large knife. And here it is below the Dendra Deer Hunter. The Dendra Deer Hunter itself is a very large knife. Pretty nice knife too. Let's see if we can do the... Alright, so there you go. You see the edge is, or the blade is a bit longer even than this very, fairly large Dendra Deer Hunter. Alright, and close-up of the lockbar side, you see the pocket clip. It is a two-position pocket clip. Right side carry, tip up or tip down. Now, the whole lockbar side is made out of titanium. Alright, that is titanium. And here's just a close-up for you there. Alright, pivot screw. Now you see it has basically a lockbar stabilizer right there. It has a non-tubed lanyard hole, and the construction on this is open pillar construction, flow through construction, you see that there. And here is the display side of the knife. That handle scale is G10. Alright, and let's take a little closer look. Okay, you see the texturing. Alright, basically, dimples, not unlike a golf ball. You see the pivot screw. Now I would prefer just either a flathead screw like Emerson's have, or just a torx like many other blades have. That is the pivot screw there. Okay, let's get into fit and finish. The first issue I want to show, it is actually pretty good fit and finish in that, I don't know if you can see, what we're looking for here is if there's any gaps between that scale and that liner. I don't really see any gaps. Try to give you a real close-up. I don't see any gaps between the liner and the scale. Okay, so that's a good thing. You see that there. So in terms of fit and finish, that's good. I mean, it's flush. That's like it. That's as it should be. All right, and the next fit and finish issue we gotta check out, the centering. There is the centering there. As you can see, it's pretty good, but it is slightly that way, slightly off center to the left. All right, so that's the centering. Now, as you can see, the titanium lockbar side has this multicolor finish there on the pocket clip too. It looks fairly good under the lights that I have for the video, but in normal light, I don't really like the multicolor finish. I think it would look just better and cleaner if it was just a solid monochrome titanium gray. Alright, so that finish doesn't really work for me, but of course that's a subjective preference. You see the lanyard hole is untubed. Alright, and again, this is a small little detail, but I would prefer a tubed lanyard hole. Alright. Okay, the next thing I want to take a look at is deployment. Let's let the deployment speak for itself. I'm going to do it with one finger, no wrist flick. And pass the test. Let's see with my offhand. Alright. Now let's try to do it with it oriented this way. And let me try to do it with my offhand. Oop. I am left-handed, so that might have been me. Alright, well, who's that? Who's that guy behind the camera? Yeah, that's me. Okay, so as far as the shape of the flipper, I'm going to give that an A+. Basically, you can deploy the knife without having to flick or use your wrist at all. Alright, genuine one-finger deployment with the index flipper. Now, while we're here, how does it lock up? Let me give you another close-up. Alright, there's the lockup there. Now, there's no blade play. It's very solid. I'll push on it. There's no flexing. The liner does not flex at all. That's a good thing. And there's no side-to-side either. Okay, so we have smooth deployment, smooth pivot. The flipper is shaped correctly, true one-finger, index finger deployment, a solid lockup. These are all good things, okay? A+ in those categories, but this is a titanium lock bar and obviously a steel tang, and there is no steel insert. So you have softer titanium against harder steel. Okay, so, a lot of modern, mid-tech frame locks, they have a steel insert, so you have steel on steel. With the titanium on the steel, it's going to tend to wear away faster. Alright, so I would prefer that they have a steel insert on the lock bar. Alright, now I'm going to get really picky here. I warned you. Okay, about the grind. The grind on the tip of this knife, I don't even know if you can see it because it's a tiny detail. The grind on the tip of this knife is ever so slightly uneven at the tip. I don't know if you can you can even pick it up, but I can see it in person. All right, the grind on the tip goes back a tiny bit more on this side than it does on that side. Okay, here's a super close-up. Basically, at the very end right there, on this side it goes back a tiny bit farther. The grind almost flares a little bit. Or where this is the other side, whereas on the other side it goes back a tiny bit less. Okay, so that's like a super tiny detail, but it's something that, you know, it's something that collectors will note. Now, as far as the grind lines for the swedge, that's perfect according to my inspection. In other words, the swedge is exactly the same on this side and on the other side. So the grind problem, it's only a tiny, tiny little thing at the very tip of the knife. Okay, one more problem, a small but really annoying problem. I'm holding this knife like this so I can do a reveal. There was a blemish on the satin finish. Let me see if I can turn. You see that right there? That big old blemish? That can't be polished out, okay? That's not just dirt or something. That is a blemish, and it's hard to see because of the reflection, but trust me, a big old blemish on the satin finish. And, you know, why was that not caught at the factory? What's the point of this beautiful, high-polished satin finish if there's going to be a big old blemish right there? All right, you see that right there? You see that big old blemish? Now, again, that's not just some piece of dirt or oil that you could wipe away. You know, that is an actual... why didn't they polish that out? Like, I don't understand how this can make it to the inspection at the factory, you know, the final inspection, and you see a beautiful high polish finish, you know, large blade, lots of grind area, and then there's a blemish there. Why didn't they just send it back and remove that before selling this knife? And again, that's a tiny detail, but you know, when I buy a Spyderco, it doesn't have a blemish, you know. There you see the blemish right there. You know, it doesn't go away. I can't, that's not just a piece of dirt or anything. You see that there? It cannot be wiped away. It's still there. Okay, so I would have given this satin finish an A+. You know, it's a beautiful satin finish, but unfortunately, that big blem, you know, it is what it is. Small but annoying. Alright, as far as initial sharpness, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't know. Try a slow cut. Alright, so the initial sharpness, yeah, it's good. I'd give it an A. You know, not an A+. It could be a little sharper, but I'd give the initial sharpness an A. Okay, so a recap. The good and the bad. The shape of the flipper, A+. Excellent. The deployment, true smooth one-finger deployment. The smoothness of the pivot, excellent. Oh yeah, the thumb studs. Placement of the thumb studs, also excellent. You see, you have ample room to get under it, behind it. Alright, so all the deployment issues, it passes with flying colors. As for the ergonomics once it's open, you know, it's very similar in shape to a hinderer, so I guess it depends if you think hinderers have good ergonomics. Most people would say yes. You know, flipper into a guard, it's got jimping there. The jimping I would give a B+. Could be a bit sharper. It's definitely not overly sharp. But yeah, and it's, you know, it's kind of, you see that angle there to kind of make it better at slicing because the belly is forward. But yeah, overall the the ergonomics of use, yeah, I mean, they're good too. As far as the fit and finish, as I said, there's no gaps or anything between the scale and the liner. That's a good thing. The centering, slightly off to the left. I would prefer a more conventional type of pivot screw there. The knife is overall attractive, but I could do without the rainbow, the rainbow colors on the lockbar side. The lockup is first rate. No liner flex, no slippage, no front to back or side to side play, but I do think it needs a steel insert and a tube for the lanyard hole. The blade itself, I do believe the steel is the real deal. It had high initial sharpness. The grind lines were perfect except for tiny imperfection at the grind of the tip. Tiny but noticeable. And the satin finish is attractive, but it had that big old blemish. So how did this knife do overall? It actually did quite well. I mean, it's definitely not perfect. I think I covered all the pros and the cons, so definitely not perfect. But most of the things wrong with it were not were small things. What do I think is going to happen with this company? Overall, people go where they think the value is. There's going to be people, oh, I don't like it because it's made in China. There's going to be people, it's a controversial company. But in the end, after all that posturing, after all that huffing and puffing, after all that drama, people go where they think the value is. And because they're offering this S35VN steel and the titanium at a price that's significantly lower than a lot of other companies, people in the end are going to go to what they think gives them the best deal. All right? Because there are other companies that have more expensive blades that people like better, but in the end, people do feel offended when someone charges $600 for a knife that is the same exact materials as this, but 3 times the price. So basically, I think that the company is going to succeed. It might do so quietly. People might not brag about their Kizer, but slowly but surely, more and more people are going to get these because in the end, they feel they're getting a good deal for the price relative to a lot of other knives out there.